going to kind of take a little trip back into the 1980s. Interesting conversations about Frosted Flakes cereal. And I didn't want to mention their brand name, but now I have to because that's their advertisement. And, as well, we're going to talk about the Love Boat, which is a 1980s television staple. So first up, Frosted Flakes has a new, very strange commercial. Frosted Flakes is a children's cereal. Now, they might be trying to sell it to adults, but all that sugar, Tony the Tiger, the cartoon, it's a kid's cereal. And the song they are using now to promote a children's cereal is the theme song from the television show, the 80s television show, Cheers. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, okay? That's how Cheers begins. And that song became sort of a hit on its own. But that song, that theme song, is directly connected and related to Cheers, which is a show about people drinking in a bar. A show about alcoholics who go in every day and sit there and drown their sorrows. And hey, it's a comedy starring Ted Danson and Kirstie Alley and a whole bunch of other people. So the song is related to a bar. An adult bar, a bar which you cannot go in and drink if you're a child. And then I guess people who don't know any better or who have convenient memories flip around the song. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, okay? And somebody in the advertising game says, wow, isn't that a neat idea? I love that song. It's just so friendly and welcoming and cheerful. Let's use it to sell a children's cereal. Now, why are they trying to, reminisce with the old people like me who say, hey, wait a minute, that's the theme from Cheers. So I recognize that, and I'm going to buy Frosted Flakes and give it to my children because I recognize that song. Or are these just young people in the advertising game who don't know any better, who maybe have heard the song and think, oh, wouldn't that be great to sell Frosted Flakes? And there's nobody wiser, older in the room, in the advertising agency to say, hey, wait a minute. I don't think that's a great idea to sell children's cereal using a bar song from the 1980s. I find it very bizarre. It doesn't make any sense. Where's the outrage, people? Now, the other 1980s thing, 1984 to be precise, is this. The Love Boat. Ernie Anderson. And if you were alive in the 1980s, when you said the Love Boat, you never said the Love Boat. You said the Love Boat. Because that's how Ernie did it. So 1984 is the year. Love Boat is a show about love on a cruise boat. Okay. I believe produced by Aaron Spelling, who also did Charlie's Angels and a whole bunch of other interesting shows. Made a lot of money. And the Love Boat had a regular cast, but the thing about it, like Fantasy Island, is they would bring in guest stars to have a cruise, but they weren't playing themselves, they were playing other people. So it was always fun to see your old stars on a new Love Boat episode, and you could reminisce and look back in time and have an enjoyable evening. And Love Boat, the Love Boat, was very mainstream. I think it was on like Friday nights must-watch TV, whatever night that is, on ABC. And people, wouldn't really talk about it the next day, but it was a long-running show, popular, mainstream America, right? Okay, so year is 1984, which is, 100 years ago or so. And one of the topics of the Love Boat, believe it or not, was transgenderism. And somebody took the storyline of the transgender plot line that, was woven throughout this particular episode from 1984 and posted it online so people could see it. And it was up for about 10 hours before it got taken down because it was like a 5-minute edited clip. And it was just fantastic. And I can't show you the clip because they took it down. And even if they didn't take it down, I couldn't show it to you anyway because copyright. But I can tell you my interpretation of what I watched and what it was like and what story was being told. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I don't think they could do that same scene today on a Love Boat on mainstream evening television. I think they would be screamed out of the room and off the television by certain people who really do not like transgender people. So the story unfolds. The star on the show is Mackenzie Phillips. And she, interestingly, was playing a man who transitioned into a woman. And Gopher, on the Love Boat TV show, Fred Grandy, and everybody loved Gopher. He was silly, he was fun. Now, in real life, Fred Grandy, we found out later, is very conservative, very Republican. I believe he grew up in Iowa. And he was elected to the House of Representatives in these United States as a U.S. congressman. Gopher from Love Boat, right? Okay. So I think, Gopher from Love Boat, conservative, he is very conservative, Republican, Iowa. What must he have felt like to do this transgender story on Love Boat in 1984? Well, it turns out that Fred Grandy, no longer serving in the Congress of the United States, it turns out Fred Grandy is very conservative fiscally, but when it comes to LGBTQ issues, he's very supportive. And if you think about it a little bit, Fred is just being honest. He grew up and was in the television industry for 20 years, 25 years? There are a lot of gay people and trans people who work in television and the arts. So he obviously was fine with it. He supports them, even though he is a conservative Republican. Now, could he be that today? Could he come out today and say, hey, I'm on the side of LGBTQ people? Hey, it's Jana Marie. Jana Marie says, I thought it was amazing back then that they did show a transgender story back then. Hallelujah. I agree with Jana Marie. And it's nice to see you, my love. So, the Jana Marie, sweetheart, and I are watching this clip, and Fred Grandy comes out and sees Mackenzie. I think her original male name was Roy, and I think she was Paulina, something like that, using a female name. And Fred Grandy comes out and says, hey, do I know you? You look really familiar. And of course, the Mackenzie Phillips character is like, uh-oh, that's Gopher from high school. He doesn't know I'm a woman now. What do I do? Interesting, right? For 1984. So Mackenzie Phillips says, oh, man, I don't think we've ever met. And Gopher's very insistent. Now, wait a minute. I know you. We're here on the boat together. What's your name? Who are you? What are you doing? And finally, the Mackenzie Phillips character is like, oh, yeah, maybe we were together. Yeah. And then they kind of bring up, oh, you look like, Roy. And then it's kind of suggested, I don't know, by Gopher or Mackenzie, oh, you must be Roy's sister. Even though it's really Roy. You must be Roy's sister. You have the same eyes, the same nose. And then that kind of goes on back and forth where he's, asks her to dance and she doesn't want to dance because she's not comfortable. And he says, oh, I know your brother. It'll be fine. He won't care. I'm not dating you. We're just dancing on the ship together. And so there are those kind of scenes of uncomfortableness on Mackenzie's part and Gopher thinking, wow, hot chick. My best friend from high school that I haven't seen forever's sister that I didn't know he had. And then it's kind of revealed like, well, Gopher, I am Roy, but I don't call myself Roy anymore because I have a new name and I'm really a woman. And Gopher is very confused, does not get angry, does not get upset. There was, no hugging, kissing, making out, none of that. It was just friendliness, right? Dancing together. And Gopher's trying to figure out, well, what do you mean? How is that possible? 1984. Is that 40 years ago? 40 years ago, they were discussing this openly on the Love Boat on ABC television, mainstream primetime television. So then the next scene is very weird, where Gopher goes to his captain, Captain Stubing, Gavin MacLeod, who everybody loves. And this is the interesting part. The Gopher's trying to say, look, I'm conflicted, Captain. And they're talking on the bridge of the Love Boat, the two of them together, the Love Boat. And Gopher's saying, I don't know, I'm a little confused because I'm sort of attracted to Roy's sister, but it's not really Roy's sister. It's actually Roy, but Roy is no longer a man. He's now a female. And the script writers, very interestingly, gave Gavin MacLeod, who was sort of like everyone's favorite captain, the father of the United States, Friday nights on the Love Boat. Gavin MacLeod, Captain Stubing's character, takes the opposite view and sort of says, well, those people, the trans people, aren't really people and there's something wrong with them and you shouldn't be fooled by them. And it's like, wait a minute. Okay, I know this is 1984. So the person they have going against the transgenderism of Mackenzie Phillips' character and Gopher's friendship and feelings is Captain Stubing, the authority figure on the Love Boat. And Gavin MacLeod plays it very coldly, and I hope I'm getting his name right. He plays Captain Stubing very cold and dismissive in that scene, which is not the way he really was at all on the show in that character. So he's representing something. We can probably guess what it was. Jana Marie says it was out of character of the captain. I agree. It was out of character. So that was a weird thing, that this loving captain, who's everybody's friend, everybody's father, is suddenly anti-trans. It didn't make any sense thematically. But I guess you had to have someone on that boat to speak the unspoken, which is no longer unspoken, people who don't like trans people. So I guess they picked the most lovable character to take that point of view. And immediately, Gopher does the right thing and stands up to the captain and says, no, I do not believe that. I do not believe that trans people are there to be mocked and dismissed because of who they are. He said, this person that I like a lot is Roy, is now female, but that doesn't mean that Roy, this person, isn't still my friend, because even though this person doesn't call herself Roy anymore, it's the same person. So how can I not continue to be friends with her as I was when I was friends with him? It's really very touching. And the captain doesn't really remain unconvinced. He's from the little bits we saw, remained very strongly against it. So then the next scene that's kind of put together, you see Mackenzie Phillips and Gopher has had a turnaround, and he is understanding and compassionate, and goes to the Mackenzie Phillips character and says, I understand what's going on. This must have been very difficult for you to transition. And Mackenzie is happy that she didn't lose a childhood friend, even though she's not really the same person that he knew when they were growing up in high school together. So it's this wonderful coming together of misunderstanding, not understanding, going to an authority figure tells you it's wrong, and you go against the authority figure and say, no, you're wrong. This person living their life isn't wrong. You're wrong for thinking that way. And then coming to the own conclusion that this person, Gopher, can come out on his own and have his own personality and beliefs that go against the captain's wishes, the standard wishes, the conservative wave, to accept his friend as he knew her and as he knows her now. And Jana and I had a conversation after that. I said, could they have this storyline, this theme today in 20 and 24, 40 years later? And we kind of decided the answer is no. It would not be tolerated. It would be shouted down by the right, protested against the Love Boat. ABC television would have all of their executives doxxed online and made fun of and mocked. And it was very disappointing thinking that way. Because in 40 years, you expect things to get better, not worse. You expect minds to be more open, not more closed. And it seems like we've just gone so far backward in America, where something from 1984 on the Love Boat has more relevance and importance and stinging reality than anything that we could put on mainstream television today and tonight. So where do we go from here? What's going to happen in another 40 years? When we look back to that episode of The Love Boat from 1984. In 80 years, are we going to be there? Are we going to be where we are now, full of hatred and despise and accusations that are false against people? Or are we going to be more understanding and more accepting? Are we going to be Gopher from 1984 instead of Captain Stubing in 2050? These are the challenges we face as a people, as a nation, as a world, and we can only hope that we have more understanding and compassion for each other than we do hatred in our hearts. And now we're going to take a very brief break, returning in a moment.